grab a cuppa, let's do some crafting. So let me just show you my desk. Chaos. So I've got a cup of tea here, obviously, as usual, and some hot water, because I have to have hot tea. And I'm full of cold today, so I'm on the tea today. So I'm just zooming in a little bit there, see what we can do there. Okay, right, you can see me fine there, can't you? I've got quite a good setup here in my office now. It just makes it much easier. So, yes, this does look like chaos, but this is how I see ideas come together by seeing things beside each other and what have you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make 3 tags, and I'm going to put some kind of string on them, and they're going to be roughly about this size of this little piece of paper, which I think is about, let me measure on my, let's measure it on my cutting mat here. 1, 2, 3. That's about 3 inches, maybe 3.5. That way, just to give you a rough idea of what size. So I'm making them not too big and not too thick. So when I make a junk journal, which I'm gonna do, I'm definitely gonna do a video on a junk journal. I'm going to get it in an old book, and I'm going to properly fit pages into it, and like the signatures in. I think that's what they call it. So it's almost, what day is it now? It's the 7th of the 3rd already. I can't believe where the year's going. So, and the weather is starting to change. It's definitely a lot sunnier. Still quite cold, but I seen some snow yesterday actually up in Concert. But definitely is showing signs of spring outside. So what I thought I would do was, I'm just going to move these stamps. I got these for my birthday of my brother, and I'm definitely going to use them somewhere in this project. Move them over there. In a cute little box. So the first thing that I thought, kind of idea that looked like it was coming together was, so I've got a few spare templates of when I made this tunnel card a few weeks back. Just spare frames that I'd made when I was deciding on what size to have the front window of it. I don't know why I've got a spare one, the actual size of the one I use, but I have. So I have this, and then I thought, actually it looks like an egg shape, so I might go with this to use. And I also have, so I must have made a template of this little, when I cut out this little jumping rabbit out of card, and I must have made a little template for it. And then I ended up with obviously this little cutout. So what I'd done was I used this on actually last week's project. Was it last week's project? I made this Victorian puzzle purse. I can't remember now. And I used it as a stencil for going around the sides there. So yeah, that was so fun making that. I love doing that, opening up like that. And obviously it all folds into a little purse. Well, it does when you fold it around in the right order. Oh, I have to do it now, don't I? There. So yeah, so a little rabbit, jumping rabbit template, which obviously is my logo for my website. And I just love rabbits, as you might know already. So what I might do is draw around that and have one of the tags as an egg. I will make it bigger. I will make it bigger than that. Actually, I could do it on there, couldn't I? And then that'll save. Okay, let's do it on there. So I've always loved making things out of, like, do they call it mixed media? When you have like bits of different materials and drawn bits and printed bits. I've always liked doing that kind of style, because I think it's great. You can just, there's no rules. You can just do whatever you want. So if you're new to my channel, thank you for tuning in. I'm Minnie Moore, and that's my crafty name anyway. And I make mostly crafty videos, projects. So for the actual tag sizes, I've just using an envelope here that came in the post this morning, and I'm just making use of this corner that's already here. And I know that these little sheets of paper are all the same size, and I think that's just the right size I want to make my tags. So I'm just going to hold that on there and then just draw around it. So I'm going to do 3 of these. Will I get one there? Yeah. Right, okay, done. Let's cut these out. A good pair of craft scissors, essential, really. I mean, I could have used my craft knife for this, but I thought I would just use the scissors. So that's the 3 tags we're going to be using. Yeah, so when I eventually get around to doing me video on my junk journal I'm going to make, I'm going to put these tags in it. So next I marked out equal distance for the corners just to make it look more like a tag shape, and then just trimmed them off with the scissors. And then I took the next card, which I know I'm also going to have in just a normal tag shape, just held it behind, made sure it was nice and straight, and then just took the scissors and just trimmed off using that one as a guide. So I just cut them off, and then next I used my single hole punch. I will need to buy a bigger one of these when I'm doing my junk journal so I can get the hole much further in. And for the final tag I just used one of these templates and just cut an oval shape. And then I just cut around, leaving about a centimetre, slightly more maybe. So we've got one which is an egg shape. And so to decorate the first tag, I just got this packet of like fancy papers. I've got loads of these packets of when I had my little crafty shop. So I just cut that one out around the tag, and then I've actually cut out an egg shape in it. I probably didn't need to be fair, but I was just playing around with different layering techniques. So then I use Pritt Stick, which is just brilliant for this, or any of this type of glue is just great because it just dries. It dries instantly. It's like a dry glue. And then just stuck that on. But for paper crafts, this is great. I didn't actually use my hot glue on any of these, on sticking any of this together. So I just attached that on like that, and then I just used the pencil and just drew around the little template of the rabbit that I had. So I drew it onto some pretty card that's got a little few flowers on the other side, and just cut it out, and then put some glue on it. Sorry, I'm losing my voice a little bit here. See, I'm voicing over my video now. I was speaking on my video earlier, but my son's just got home and he's working on his projects in the next room, and he keeps talking to us, which is lovely, but yeah, I've had a voiceover. So I stuck a little stamp on there, a little mushroom stamp sticker that I have, and then I've done some of the vintage edging, like with the sponge, to make it look like just to give it a bit definition around the edge. And then I stuck this little bit lace on. So I just mixed some oil paints, some browns and blacks to create that. Oh, the dog's just getting something out of the bin. Excuse me. Oh, she's going to pull that into pieces. It's fine. And then I just strung these by just putting some twine through, 2 ends through, and then just put it through on itself. So you get a nice little knot. So that's the first card made. Now for the second one, we're going to do some butterflies on this one. So I've cut these out with that sheet of paper, and I've even cut around the little antennae. Is that the right word? And then we're going to use this egg-shaped one. So I've just held this piece of paper out over the egg. It's really nice this with the sun shining through, because you can see exactly what something's going to look like. Some really nice words on there actually. I'm not sure if you're going to see it when I'm finished, but it's nice to use things like this. So then I just cut around this, just keeping it the same shape as the egg. Cut all the way around it, so I wasn't quite sure what I was doing even at this stage, but I just like to play around with this, like layering. So sometimes I end up cutting out things that don't need to be cut out, and vice versa. So then I just put some Pritt Stick on the egg, and then stuck on my little cut out, and just made sure that's well pushed down. And then I took some hessian, and then I just cut around that as well, just roughly, because it'll get covered over the edges. So the reason I've kind of done it this way is so that, because the hessian's quite you can see through it, so I've done it this way around, just to make sure that, like, put the paper underneath, so that when you see through it, it's just got that nice vintage paper behind, and it's not really white. And then I put another sheet on like this, cut a template around it, so that kind of keeps all the little raggy ends of the hessian down. Not that I mind the raggy ends, it's just the way this worked out. And then I just trimmed around that, but there was a little piece missing at the top there where the paper didn't reach, so I just found a little pretty piece that looked like it would kind of match in nicely, and then just glued that on. Just a little bit glue, stick that on, and then just turned it the other way around and just trimmed that little bit off. That's my little egg-shaped tag. Looks quite padded. And then I took a little piece of hessian. This hessian's just off like a jute bag. And then I taped it down to keep it still. And then I was so excited getting my stamps out for the first time. They stamp really well. Apart from the letters, like the bit that actually stamps, they're not always in line, you know, so you can't just line up the stamp block. You've got to look and see where it's going to stamp onto. But it's all right. So I just stamp the word fly on there. And then I've just actually used the Pritt stick to glue the bodies of the butterflies down so the wings are still sticking up. I might use hot glue later on with that, but I didn't want to do it yet. It actually did stick on quite well. And then I've used the technique I used on the last one there, just with a sponge. And then just threaded it with some twine, made a little hanger. That's my little butterfly tag finished. Next, my little lamb one. How cute is this little lamb? So I just drew this on, well, it was just printer paper. And then it was good enough so I could just draw around it onto some canvas type material. So this material is actually off a tote bag that I just cut up that I wasn't using. It's quite thin actually. It's not like the thicker material you sometimes get. I've used this before on projects. I quite like the idea of drawing onto material. So I'm just using my drawing pen here to draw around it, and then I'm just adding in some details. So I know this video is longer than usual. They're usually about 10 minutes long, my videos. That's partly due to my terrible Wi-Fi internet that we have here. But there's been some changes, so I'm going to see how this longer video goes. So I just cut out the little lamb there, and then I'm using some more of the paint here, watered down, to go over this frame. And then Pritt stick glue out onto the tag, and then I'm just going to put a full sheet of the printed paper over this. It's amazing how quick it dries, but you have to kind of make sure it's pushed on and not wrinkly. And then just cut off the corners to get the tag shape back. And then the edges, I'm loving doing this now actually. I'm going to buy some of the proper stuff, whatever it is, because the paint dries up. And then Pritt stick on the back of that, and then put the frame on. I love the colours, the way this turned out. It looks very vintagey. And the way that the edges are highlighted. Then I re-punched the hole through, and then just use Pritt stick to stick the lamb on. It actually sticks the fabric onto the paper really well. And then that's my little lamb on. And then I used a bee stamp. I've had this bee stamp ages, but as you can see, it didn't quite work because of the different heights. So I just used a pen to fill in the details. Then added a few little dashes and then strung it with twine. And then I used a little bit of the paint that I'd made, the very watery paint, to go over the rabbit, just to make it look a bit more vintagey. And then I used the stamps to put hop above the rabbit. And then I just drew a little beeline on here, so it looks like a little bit movement, like buzz, and then hop. I've tried to do a little bit movement lines there, and then fly for the butterfly. I love how they've turned out. I hope you've enjoyed me making these little spring Easter tags. Last week's project was these folk art birds, which now reside in my camper van, along with a few other previous DIYs, like the vintage bunny cushion, and then more recently the rabbit tunnel card and this Victorian puzzle purse. So I'll leave a link to the playlist at the end of this video to all my spring DIYs. And I think the dog looks very much like a little lamb at the minute because I've trimmed her, because her fur gets really like tatty. So I've trimmed her right back. Show everybody. Look, she's a bit tufty at the minute. I think she wants to go out, so I'll do that. She's been really good, sitting waiting at the door. I think she seems to know when I'm about to finish a video. Eyes look a little bit red. Oh, she's so cute. What you after? You want to go out? Yeah? Come on then. Thank you for watching the video and making it right until the end. And I'd love to see you on my next one. Have a great week. Bye.